2 days before my birthday, I caught Jessica rifling through official documents at my kitchen counter. When she spotted me, she quickly shoved the papers into a birthday gift bag decorated with silver stars. "Just some apartment paperwork," she said with a peculiar smirk. I assumed it was lease renewal documents or utility transfers that Michael needed to handle. The metallic gift bag looked festive and thoughtful. That Tuesday morning, I'd come downstairs early to grab coffee before my shift at Cafe Luna. The apartment was usually quiet at 6 a.m., and I expected to find the kitchen empty. Instead, Jessica sat hunched over what appeared to be legal documents, her designer reading glasses perched on her nose as she examined each page with laser focus. Her concentration was predatory, almost gleeful, as she made notes in the margins with a gold pen. The sound of my bare feet on the hardwood made her look up sharply. For just a moment, her face revealed something I'd never witnessed before. Not just her usual condescension or barely concealed irritation, but pure malicious satisfaction. She moved with surprising agility for someone wearing 6-inch heels at dawn, gathering the documents into a pristine stack and sliding them into what looked like an expensive birthday gift bag. "Morning, sweetie," she purred, her voice dripping with artificial sweetness that immediately raised my defenses. Jessica had never called me sweetie before. Usually she avoided addressing me directly, referring to me as Michael's girlfriend, or simply her, when speaking to others. The sudden pet name felt wrong, like she was testing how it tasted before spitting it out forever. The gift bag itself was gorgeous, metallic silver with holographic stars that caught the morning light streaming through our windows. Delicate tissue paper peeked out from the top, and the whole presentation looked expensive and carefully curated. Jessica held it possessively, running her manicured fingers along the handles as if admiring her own impeccable taste. "I picked this one especially for you," she said, watching my reaction with hawk-like intensity. Before we dive deeper into this incredible story of turning betrayal into triumph, please hit subscribe if you believe that honest work deserves respect, not shame. Your support helps us share more stories of people who refuse to be broken by family cruelty. Now, let's see how Jessica's viciousness backfired completely. I poured my coffee and attempted casual conversation, asking if she needed help with whatever paperwork she was handling. Jessica's laugh was light and musical, completely different from her usual measured professional tone. "Oh, this is something very special I've been working on for quite some time. Michael doesn't even know about it yet." The secrecy intrigued me. In 3 years of dating Michael, Jessica had never planned surprises or shown interest in gift-giving beyond obligatory holidays. She was calculating and direct, not the type to invest time in elaborate presentations or sentimental gestures. The fact that she was putting genuine effort into my birthday felt like breakthrough progress in our strained relationship. "It's something that will change absolutely everything," she continued, placing the bag carefully beside her Hermes purse. "I've been consulting with professionals to make sure everything is handled correctly. You deserve something truly meaningful after all this time." Her words filled me with unexpected optimism. Maybe Jessica had finally recognized my efforts to fit into their family dynamic. Perhaps she'd noticed how hard I'd been working to find more professional employment. Or maybe she'd seen how deeply I loved Michael, despite their constant undermining. The idea that she might be planning something special for my 29th birthday made me feel lighter than I had in months. Michael appeared in the kitchen moments later, already dressed in his 3-piece suit for his law firm. He kissed my forehead and grabbed his thermal coffee mug, but I noticed him exchange a meaningful glance with his sister. They shared some kind of silent communication that completely excluded me. When I asked if everything was okay, Michael just smiled mysteriously and said they were planning something extraordinary for my birthday. The rest of that week, Jessica's behavior became increasingly strange and unnaturally pleasant. She called me 3 times to ask about my schedule, making absolutely certain I'd be available for dinner on my birthday. She even suggested we celebrate at Cafe Luna, which shocked me completely. Jessica had never shown interest in visiting my workplace, always making elaborate excuses when Michael suggested we eat there as a family. I think it would be meaningful to celebrate where you work. She explained during one phone call. It's important that we acknowledge all aspects of your life and journey. The words sounded caring and inclusive, but something in her tone made me deeply uncomfortable. Jessica didn't speak in sentimental language or express interest in acknowledging my life's journey. Her sudden transformation felt calculated rather than genuine. Rebecca, Michael's younger sister, started acting differently too. She'd smile mysteriously whenever Jessica mentioned my birthday plans, and she volunteered to help with arrangements without being asked. Rebecca usually avoided family events that involved me, claiming work conflicts or social obligations. Her enthusiasm about my birthday dinner felt suspicious, but I pushed down my doubts and chose to focus on their apparent acceptance. Michael's excitement about the birthday celebration grew throughout the week. He'd check his phone constantly, responding to texts with satisfied grins that made him look like a child planning Christmas morning. When I tried to peek at his messages, he'd playfully angle the screen away from me, saying it was surprise business that I wasn't allowed to see. His secretive behavior felt loving rather than threatening. The night before my birthday, Jessica called to confirm the dinner arrangements one final time. Wear something nice, she advised, but nothing too formal. You'll want to be comfortable for what we have planned. Her tone carried an edge of anticipation that I mistook for excitement about finally celebrating me properly. I spent extra time choosing my outfit, settling on a burgundy dress that looked professional but approachable. The mirror reflected someone who was trying desperately to be worthy of acceptance, smoothing every wrinkle and checking every detail twice. I wanted to look perfect for what I hoped would be our breakthrough moment as a family. That evening, as I prepared for bed, Michael seemed unusually affectionate. He held me close and told me how much he loved me, speaking with an intensity that felt almost like farewell. Tomorrow will be a day you'll never forget, he whispered into my hair. I fell asleep feeling cherished and hopeful, completely unaware that his tenderness was actually guilt over what was coming. The decorated gift bag sat in Jessica's car, waiting to deliver its devastating contents. While I dreamed about finally earning their respect, she was probably rehearsing her speech about family standards and difficult decisions. The woman who had smiled so strangely while handling those legal documents was counting down the hours until she could destroy me publicly. I woke up on my 29th birthday believing it would mark my acceptance into Michael's family. Instead, it would become the day Jessica handed me the greatest gift of my life, freedom from their toxic judgment, and the chance to discover who I could become without their limitations holding me back. The first family dinner after Michael and I moved in together was his cousin Bradley's engagement party. I spent 2 hours getting ready, choosing a conservative navy dress and minimal jewelry, hoping to blend in quietly with their social circle. Jessica greeted me at the restaurant entrance with air kisses that never touched my cheeks, then immediately guided me toward a group of relatives I'd never met. "This is Michael's girlfriend," she announced to the circle of impeccably dressed women. "She works in food service." The pause before those words was deliberate, giving everyone time to process what that meant in their world. Aunt Caroline raised her eyebrows knowingly, while Cousin Victoria made a sympathetic sound that felt more like pity than welcome. "How interesting," Victoria said, her smile tight and condescending. "What kind of establishment do you work at?" Jessica jumped in before I could answer, explaining that I was still exploring my career path while working temporarily in the hospitality industry. She made it sound like I was lost and directionless, rather than employed and hardworking. The conversation continued around me, as if I wasn't there. They discussed Bradley's promotion at his investment firm, another cousin's acceptance to medical school, and Rebecca's internship at a prestigious marketing agency. When someone asked about my educational background, Jessica smoothly redirected the topic to Michael's legal career and how proud they were of his professional growth. I excused myself to use the restroom, needing a moment to breathe away from their suffocating disapproval. In the hallway, I overheard Jessica telling someone, "We're hoping she'll find something more suitable soon. Michael deserves a partner who can contribute to their social position appropriately. The words stung because they reduced my entire identity to my perceived failure to meet their standards. Thanksgiving dinner 3 months later followed the same pattern, but with increased intensity. Jessica had invited extended family, including relatives I'd only met once at Bradley's engagement. As we went around the table, sharing gratitude, she made sure to highlight everyone's professional achievements while strategically skipping over me entirely. "I'm thankful for Rebecca's acceptance into the graduate program at Northwestern," Jessica said, beaming at her younger sister. "And for Michael's partnership track at Morrison and Associates. It's wonderful to see young people establishing themselves professionally." When my turn came, I mentioned being grateful for family and good health, avoiding any reference to work that might trigger another lecture. Jessica's mother, Patricia, pulled me aside after dinner, ostensibly to help with dishes, but actually to deliver unsolicited advice. "You know, dear, Jessica just wants what's best for Michael. Have you considered pursuing additional education? There are so many opportunities for women willing to invest in themselves." Her words carried the weight of family consensus. They'd all discussed my inadequacies and agreed on solutions. The holidays became exercises in endurance rather than celebration. At Christmas, Jessica gave Rebecca a beautiful cashmere scarf and presented me with a book titled Professional Development for Young Women, wrapped in newspaper instead of proper gift paper. The message was clear. Everyone else received gifts, while I received homework assignments for becoming acceptable. Michael's birthday party in March revealed how deeply the family dynamics had shifted. Jessica planned an elaborate celebration at an upscale steakhouse, inviting his legal colleagues and successful friends. I wore my best dress and tried to participate in conversations about recent court cases and legal trends. But my contributions were met with polite smiles that quickly faded. When someone asked about my work, Michael actually stepped in before I could answer. "She's exploring different opportunities right now," he said, avoiding eye contact with me. His shame about my job had grown so obvious that he couldn't even let me speak for myself anymore. Rebecca's graduation party in May brought new levels of social torture. She'd invited her sorority sisters, all successful professional women who asked polite questions about my career. Jessica hovered nearby during these conversations, ready to redirect attention whenever I mentioned Cafe Luna. She'd interrupt with comments about the celebration or ask someone else about their job, making my occupation invisible in social settings. The worst incident happened during Father's Day dinner when Jessica's friend Miranda joined us. Miranda was a retired pharmaceutical executive who spent the meal discussing her daughter's law career and her son's medical practice. When she asked about my background, Jessica actually interrupted my response to explain that I was between opportunities and considering various options for professional growth. I excused myself to the powder room and cried quietly into tissues, feeling completely erased from my own life story. Jessica was rewriting my identity to fit her narrative, turning steady employment into temporary confusion and honest work into something shameful that needed explanation or apology. The pattern of family gatherings became predictable and painful. Jessica would position me near people who would naturally ask about my work, then swoop in to manage the conversation when my answers didn't meet her standards. She'd suggest I was actively job hunting or pursuing education, creating fictional versions of my life that sounded more acceptable to their social circle. Michael's transformation during these events was the most heartbreaking aspect of our deteriorating situation. The man who'd fallen in love with my independence and strong work ethic now looked embarrassed when I mentioned my job. He'd change the subject quickly, or make jokes about upgrading my career as if my current employment was temporary embarrassment rather than legitimate work. The family group chat became another source of daily humiliation. Rebecca would share articles about successful women, always accompanied by comments about inspiration and goals. When I'd respond positively, she'd follow up with questions about my own professional development that felt more like interrogation than conversation. Jessica's friends at the country club provided another avenue for public embarrassment. She'd mention my employment status to them with theatrical sighs, describing my job as Michael's burden that the family was helping him handle. When these women encountered me at social events, their pitying expressions and overly encouraging comments about finding my path made clear that Jessica had portrayed me as a project rather than a person. The constant criticism began affecting how I saw myself in mirrors and photographs. Jessica's comments about my appearance made me second-guess every outfit choice and makeup decision. I started shopping for clothes I couldn't afford, trying to look like the professional women she obviously preferred. My credit card balance grew while my self-confidence shrank. By the spring of our third year together, I'd become a completely different person than the confident woman Michael had met. Jessica's systematic campaign of disapproval had succeeded in making me question my worth, my choices, and my place in Michael's life. Every family interaction reinforced their message that I was temporary embarrassment rather than permanent family member. The breaking point arrived during a phone conversation I wasn't supposed to hear. Jessica was talking to her friend Helen about Michael's relationship, and her words cut through me with surgical precision. I keep hoping he'll come to his senses before it's too late. He's such a brilliant man, and he deserves someone who can enhance his life rather than hold him back. Standing in my own hallway, listening to my boyfriend's sister pray for our relationship's destruction, I finally understood that acceptance was never going to be possible. Jessica didn't just disapprove of my job. She disapproved of my existence in Michael's life. The morning after hearing Jessica's devastating phone conversation, I sat at my laptop with renewed determination. If she was hoping for Michael to leave me, I'd prove her wrong by becoming the professional woman she claimed he deserved. The job search websites glowed on my screen as I created profiles on every platform I could find. My resume looked pathetic, spread across one page. 4 years at Cafe Luna, a community college degree, and scattered retail experience from part-time jobs during school. I stared at the blank sections where advanced degrees and corporate accomplishments should have been, feeling Jessica's voice echo in my head about real qualifications and proper preparation. I rewrote my job descriptions countless times, trying to make serving coffee sound like executive experience. Managed multiple client relationships simultaneously while maintaining high satisfaction ratings. Coordinated complex service delivery under time-sensitive conditions. The words felt fake and inflated, but online articles promised that strategic language could bridge experience gaps. Cover letters became my obsession. I'd wake up early to write personalized messages for administrative positions, customer service roles, and entry-level office jobs across the entire metro area. Each letter took hours to craft, explaining how my cafe background had prepared me for professional challenges. The first rejection email arrived within hours of my application to a marketing firm receptionist position. Thank you for your interest, but we're seeking candidates with corporate office experience. The second rejection came from a dental practice. We require applicants with medical administrative background for this role. By the end of the first week, my inbox overflowed with polite dismissals that all said the same thing. I wasn't qualified for anything beyond my current situation. Michael found me crying over my laptop one evening after a particularly brutal day of rejections. Maybe you're aiming too high too fast, he suggested, rubbing my shoulders. There's nothing wrong with starting smaller and working your way up. His words were meant to comfort, but they echoed his sister's constant message that I should lower my expectations rather than raise my qualifications. The interview at Pinnacle Consulting became my first real-world lesson in professional humiliation. The office building intimidated me from the moment I walked through the glass doors. Women in sharp suits clicked across marble floors in expensive heels, carrying leather briefcases and speaking confidently into wireless headsets. Ms. Richardson, the hiring manager, looked at my resume for exactly 15 seconds before setting it aside. "Your background is quite limited for this position," she said, not bothering to hide her disappointment. "We typically hire candidates with business experience or advanced degrees. What made you think you'd be qualified for client coordination?" My carefully prepared answers about transferable skills and eagerness to learn fell flat in that sterile conference room. Miss Richardson actually checked her watch while I spoke, making it clear that my time was being wasted along with hers. Perhaps you should consider positions more aligned with your current skill set, she suggested, ending the interview 20 minutes early. Community college night classes became my next desperate strategy. The evening business program promised to give me the credentials Jessica claimed I lacked. I registered for advanced business communications, marketing fundamentals, and professional development, paying the fees with money I'd been saving for a vacation. My first night in class revealed how unprepared I was for academic challenges. The other students were mostly working professionals seeking advancement or career changes. They spoke confidently about their corporate experiences, while I sat quietly taking notes and hoping no one would ask about my background. Professor Williams assigned a project about professional networking that required interviewing someone in our desired field. I had no connections in business, no professional contacts, and no idea how to approach strangers for informational interviews. While classmates discussed their mentors and industry contacts, I realized how isolated I was from the professional world. Michael's reaction to my college enrollment was lukewarm at best. "Are you sure this is worth the time and money?" he asked when I showed him my class schedule. "Maybe you should focus on finding work first and worry about education later." His practical concerns made sense financially, but his lack of enthusiasm for my efforts felt like another vote of no confidence. The financial pressure of my improvement campaign created new problems at home. Interview clothes, gas money for driving to different suburbs, textbooks, and tuition fees strained our already tight budget. Michael started questioning every purchase, asking if new professional outfits were really necessary when I wasn't getting hired anyway. "Maybe we should take a break from all this," he suggested after reviewing our credit card statements. "You're spending more money trying to get jobs than you'd earn in the first few months." The spring semester brought advanced communication skills and my first presentation assignment. Standing in front of the class, explaining customer service principles I'd learned through cafe work, I felt confident and knowledgeable. My classmates asked thoughtful questions and seemed genuinely interested in my practical experience. That confidence lasted until I shared my academic success with Michael over dinner. "That's great," he said absently, scrolling through his phone. "Maybe Jessica will be impressed when you finish the program." His response reduced my achievement to ammunition in the ongoing war for his sister's approval, rather than recognizing my personal growth. The semester ended with strong grades and renewed hope, but job applications continued, yielding the same rejections. Insufficient experience. Looking for candidates with degree completion. Position requires corporate background. Each email reinforced the message that education alone wouldn't bridge the gap between my current reality and their expectations. Jessica's reaction to my academic progress was predictably dismissive. "Community college is a good start," she said when Michael mentioned my grades, though real career advancement usually requires proper university education. Even my success became evidence of my continued inadequacy in her relentless campaign to prove I wasn't good enough for her brother. Summer arrived with my determination intact. Despite Jessica's dismissive comments about community college, I created spreadsheets to track my job applications, color-coding them by status and follow-up dates. Green for submitted, yellow for pending responses, red for rejections. Within 3 weeks, my screen was overwhelmed with red cells. The rejection from Sterling Financial came with particular sting. I'd driven an hour for an interview with their human resources director, wearing a blazer I'd bought specifically for the occasion. The woman glanced at my resume, asked 2 questions about my cafe experience, then spent the remaining time explaining why they needed someone with traditional business background. "Your customer service skills are admirable," she said with practiced politeness. "But this position requires analytical thinking and strategic capabilities that come from corporate experience." She might as well have told me that baristas couldn't think properly. Monday afternoon found me at the kitchen table, surrounded by the remnants of another failed week. 53 rejections, Jessica's latest dismissive comment about community college, and Michael's growing impatience with our mounting expenses had left me questioning everything I'd been fighting for. My phone buzzed with an unknown number while I folded laundry. Telemarketer calls had become so frequent that I usually ignored unfamiliar numbers, but something made me swipe to answer. "Hello, is this speaking with Amanda?" The woman's voice was professional but warm, with none of the hurried efficiency I'd grown to expect from business calls. She spoke my name like it mattered, with careful pronunciation and genuine interest. "This is Rachel Thompson from Grandview Resort's Human Resources Department. I hope I'm not calling at a bad time." My heart stopped completely. Grandview Resort. I remembered submitting that application during a particularly desperate evening in April, 4 months ago, when spring rejection letters had piled up like fallen leaves. The application had been one of dozens I'd sent out that week, cast into the void of online job boards with little hope of response. "We received your application for our guest experience coordinator position," Rachel continued, "and I was wondering if you're still interested in discussing opportunities with our team." Her words sounded impossible after months of silence from potential employers. Someone was actually calling me about a job, treating my application like it had value instead of filing it directly into rejection folders. "Yes, absolutely," I managed, trying to keep my voice steady. "I'm very interested in learning more about the position." Rachel's laugh was genuine and encouraging, nothing like the polite dismissals I'd grown accustomed to hearing from hiring managers. "Wonderful. I have to tell you, your hospitality experience really caught our attention. We find that candidates with your background often excel in resort services because you understand guest satisfaction from the ground up." Her words were revolutionary. Someone was praising my cafe experience instead of apologizing for it or suggesting I overcome it. Rachel explained that Grandview Resort specialized in creating exceptional guest experiences, and they valued employees who understood service excellence through practical application rather than theoretical training. "We offer comprehensive training programs for career development," she continued, "including management track opportunities for employees who demonstrate leadership potential. Our benefits package includes health insurance, dental coverage, retirement planning, and educational assistance for professional development courses." The benefits she described surpassed anything I'd imagined possible. At Cafe Luna, health insurance was a luxury we couldn't afford, and retirement planning was something other people did. "There's one more aspect of this position that might interest you," Rachel said, her voice taking on an excited tone. "The role includes housing in our employee residential village. It's a fully furnished apartment with utilities included, just a 5-minute walk from the resort. Many of our team members find it convenient, especially those relocating for the opportunity." I had to sit down. Free housing meant independence from Michael's family's constant criticism and financial pressure. 2 hours away from Jessica's disapproving presence felt like an impossible dream that someone was offering as reality. The salary range is $48,000 to $54,000 annually, depending on experience and performance during training. Rachel added, "My current income from Cafe Luna barely reached $32,000, and that was with good tip days and extra shifts. The financial independence this job offered would transform my entire life situation. I realize this might be a big decision since you'd be relocating," Rachel said, "but we're impressed with your background and think you'd be an excellent fit for our team culture. Would you be interested in scheduling a phone interview later this week to discuss details?" Everything I'd been desperately seeking was being offered by someone who saw potential instead of limitations. "I would love to schedule an interview," I said, my voice stronger than it had been in months. We scheduled the phone interview for Thursday afternoon, giving me 2 days to research the resort and prepare thoughtful questions. After hanging up, I sat in my quiet kitchen, feeling emotions I'd almost forgotten existed. The irony wasn't lost on me. Jessica's birthday gift bag sat somewhere in this apartment, filled with legal documents designed to destroy my place in this family. Meanwhile, I now possessed information that would prove every negative thing she'd ever said about my potential was completely wrong. Tuesday morning brought my phone interview with Rachel Thompson, and I locked myself in our bedroom while Michael was at the law firm. The conversation exceeded every hope I'd harbored about this opportunity. Rachel's questions focused on scenarios I could answer confidently, handling difficult guests, managing multiple priorities during busy periods, and maintaining service excellence under pressure. "Your references from Cafe Luna are outstanding," she said, rustling papers on her end of the call. "Your manager spoke very highly of your reliability and guest relationship skills. That's exactly the foundation we build on here at Grandview Resort." The formal job offer arrived via email that afternoon while I was preparing for my evening shift. The PDF document was official and beautiful, with the resort's elegant letterhead and detailed terms that made this opportunity feel real and achievable. Guest Experience Coordinator starting salary, $52,000 annually. Comprehensive benefits and employee housing included. That evening at Cafe Luna, I moved through my shift with energy I hadn't felt in months. Every customer interaction reminded me that I was good at this work, that my skills had value in professional environments. "You seem different tonight," said Maria, our head barista. "More like yourself again." She was right. The weight of constant inadequacy had lifted from my shoulders. Michael's call Wednesday morning changed the entire trajectory of my secret planning. "Jessica wants to take you out for your birthday tomorrow." Excitement meant obvious in his voice. "She suggested Cafe Luna, since you're always talking about how much you love working there." His interpretation of Jessica's choice made perfect sense to me. Finally, she was acknowledging my workplace instead of dismissing it. "That's wonderful," I said, genuinely touched by what seemed like progress in our relationship. "I can't believe she wants to celebrate at Cafe Luna." Michael's pause lasted just long enough to plant seeds of hope that would make tomorrow's revelation even more meaningful. "I think she's beginning to understand what makes you happy," he said carefully. "She wants this birthday to be special." Rebecca's text message that afternoon added to my growing excitement. "Can't wait for tomorrow night. This birthday will definitely be memorable." I spent Wednesday evening planning exactly how I'd reveal my news. The job offer letter sat in my jewelry box, waiting for the perfect moment to transform their perception of me. Thursday morning shopping became an adventure in self-expression. I hadn't allowed myself in months. I chose an emerald dress with subtle elegance that would photograph well if Michael decided to capture the moment. My hair appointment at Tony's salon was a luxury I justified as investment in my future image. Tony had been cutting my hair for years, and he noticed my improved mood immediately. "You're glowing today," he said, styling my hair into soft waves that looked sophisticated but approachable. "Something good must be happening in your life." "Something wonderful," I confirmed. "Tonight is going to change everything." The secret job offer had given me armor against Jessica's usual criticism throughout the week. When she'd commented on Tuesday about my stagnant situation, I'd simply smiled and said things were looking up. Walking toward Cafe Luna's entrance for my birthday celebration, I felt lighter than I had since Michael and I first started dating. The secret knowledge of my future gave me confidence to face whatever family dynamics awaited inside. The bell above Cafe Luna's rinse chimed as I pushed through the familiar glass door, my family following behind me into the warm, welcoming atmosphere I'd called my second home for 4 years. The evening light filtered through exposed brick walls, casting golden shadows across tables where I'd served countless drinks and built relationships with regular customers who'd become friends. "Amanda!" Carlos's voice boomed across the cafe as he spotted our group. His weathered face broke into the genuine smile I'd grown to treasure during difficult months of family criticism. He hurried over from behind the espresso machine, clearly pleased to see me arriving as a customer rather than an employee. "This must be the birthday celebration you mentioned." "Carlos, I'd like you to meet my family," I said with pride that surprised even me. "This is my boyfriend Michael, his sister Jessica, and his younger sister Rebecca." Carlos shook hands warmly with each of them, his enthusiasm infectious as he welcomed them to his cafe. I felt grateful that Jessica would finally see the respect and affection I'd earned in this place. Jessica's smile was polite but strained as she surveyed the modest cafe space with critical eyes. The mismatched vintage chairs, exposed brick walls, and handwritten specials board clearly didn't meet her usual standards. But she was here, making an effort for my birthday, and that felt like progress worth celebrating. "We'll take excellent care of you tonight," Carlos promised, leading us to the corner table I'd suggested when Michael asked about seating preferences. The spot offered privacy for family conversation while giving me a clear view of the coffee bar where Maria worked her magic with specialty drinks. Maria caught my eye from behind the espresso machine and winked conspiratorially. She'd probably noticed my improved mood throughout the week and was happy to see my family finally celebrating with me at Cafe Luna. Jake, busy setting up tables for the evening rush, gave me a thumbs up and mouthed, "Happy birthday," with his characteristic enthusiasm. Settling into the vintage chairs felt surreal. I'd served countless beverages at this very table, but now I sat as a guest while different servers handled our order. Jessica examined the handwritten menu with visible skepticism, her manicured fingers holding it like it might contaminate her hands. "The lavender honey latte is exceptional here," I suggested, trying to bridge the gap between my two worlds. "Carlos sources the honey from local beekeepers." Jessica nodded politely but ordered the most expensive item on the menu, a specialty coffee flight that cost $18 and wasn't even one of our signature drinks. Michael's behavior throughout dinner struck me as nervous excitement. He kept checking his phone under the table, responding to texts with quick thumbs while trying to maintain normal conversation. When I asked about his latest case, his answers were distracted and brief. "Are you expecting an important call?" I asked when his phone buzzed for the fourth time during our appetizer course. Michael glanced at Jessica before answering, receiving some kind of silent approval that I interpreted as family consideration for my birthday celebration. "Just coordinating some surprise elements for tonight," he said with a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. Jessica's conversation throughout dinner felt artificial and rehearsed. She asked questions about my classes at community college with false interest, nodding along to my answers while clearly thinking about something else entirely. "You've been working so hard to improve yourself," Jessica said as we waited for our dessert orders. "It's admirable how determined you've been despite all the obstacles." Her words sounded supportive, but something in her tone made them feel like setup rather than genuine praise. Rebecca snorted quietly at her sister's comment, quickly covering it with a cough when I looked her way. The birthday cake appeared as we finished our coffee, carried by Sophie, one of the newer baristas who'd been trained during my recent shifts. She placed it carefully in front of me, smiling warmly as the entire cafe began singing Happy Birthday. Regular customers joined in from nearby tables, creating a chorus of genuine affection that made my heart swell with belonging. "Make a wish," Michael said, positioning his phone to capture the moment. I closed my eyes and wished for the courage to share my job offer news gracefully, hoping this announcement would finally bridge the gap between Jessica's expectations and my reality. Jessica's applause was enthusiastic but hollow, her hands creating sharp clapping sounds that cut through the cafe's ambient noise. She reached into her designer purse with theatrical ceremony, withdrawing the decorated gift bag I'd seen her preparing days earlier. "We have a very special gift for you," she announced, her voice carrying clearly across nearby tables. "From all of us," she continued, holding the bag high enough for other customers to see. The silver bag with holographic stars looked festive and innocent, exactly like something chosen for a beloved family member. Other customers turned to watch our celebration, probably thinking how lucky I was to have family who cared enough to make public gestures of affection. Rebecca's phone appeared in her hands, also positioned to record whatever was about to unfold. Michael adjusted his angle to capture my face more clearly, his excitement palpable as he focused the camera on my expression. "Open it," Jessica urged, her eyes bright with anticipation that I mistook for loving excitement. The bag felt heavier than expected as I turned it over in my hands, running my fingers along the metallic handles. Everyone at our table leaned forward slightly, watching my reaction with intense focus that made this moment feel monumentally important. The tissue paper rustled as I pulled it aside, revealing official documents folded neatly inside. Legal letterhead caught my eye first, followed by formal language that took my brain several seconds to process. Notice of lease termination sat at the top of the first page in bold, imposing letters that seemed to grow larger as I stared at them. My breath caught in my throat as the words registered. Eviction papers on my birthday in front of my coworkers and regular customers. The decorated gift bag that had looked so innocent was actually a weapon designed for maximum destruction of my dignity and sense of belonging. The cafe continued buzzing with normal evening conversation around us, but our corner table existed in a bubble of tension, so thick I could barely breathe. Jessica's satisfied expression confirmed that this wasn't a mistake or misunderstanding. This was exactly what she'd planned when I'd caught her at our kitchen counter, preparing legal documents. Michael's phone remained steady in his hands, still recording my reaction for posterity. They wanted to capture this moment of devastation, probably to watch it again later and share it with family members who couldn't attend tonight's performance. The papers felt heavy in my trembling hands as I looked up at three faces watching me with eager anticipation. Jessica's smile was triumphant, Rebecca's expression was gleeful, and Michael looked nervous but excited about whatever reaction they expected from me. Time seemed to slow as I stared at those eviction papers, my mind processing the magnitude of what they'd planned. The decorated gift bag with its innocent stars had delivered the cruelest blow imaginable, but instead of the devastation they expected, I felt something entirely different washing over me. Clarity. Pure, crystalline clarity about who these people really were and what this moment actually meant. Jessica's smile was radiant with satisfaction as she watched me absorb the contents of her gift. Her eyes sparkled with the joy of someone who'd successfully executed a plan months in the making. Rebecca leaned forward slightly, phone still recording, hungry for the breakdown they'd orchestrated. The cafe's ambient noise faded into background whispers as nearby customers sensed drama unfolding at our corner table. Mrs. Chen, my regular Thursday customer, turned in her chair to get a better view. I looked down at the legal documents again, noting the careful preparation that had gone into this moment. Someone had hired an attorney, filed paperwork, and coordinated timing to maximize my humiliation. Jessica prompted when my silence stretched longer than she'd expected. "Aren't you going to say something?" Her voice carried across the quiet cafe, inviting everyone to witness my reaction to their birthday surprise. The expectation in her tone was clear. I was supposed to beg, cry, or create the scene they'd come here to witness. Instead, I reached for the pen they'd provided and signed my name with handwriting steadier than it had been in months. The ink flowed smoothly across the signature line, acknowledging the lease termination while also marking the beginning of something they couldn't imagine. Jessica's triumphant expression faltered slightly as I calmly folded the papers and returned them to their decorative gift bag. "That's it?" Michael asked, his voice barely audible. "You're not going to fight this or ask questions?" His disappointment was palpable. Clearly, my calm acceptance wasn't providing the entertainment value they'd anticipated for their recording session. "Thank you," I said, standing up from the vintage chair with dignity intact. "This is actually the most generous gift you could have given me." Jessica's face shifted from satisfaction to bewilderment as I reached into my purse and withdrew my own envelope, the official job offer letter from Grandview Resort that would rewrite their entire narrative about my worth. "I have some news to share as well," I announced, my voice carrying clearly through the hushed cafe. 4 days ago, I was offered a position as guest experience coordinator at Grandview Resort. The salary is $52,000 annually with full benefits and housing included. The words felt powerful leaving my lips, each one landing with precision in the silence that followed. Jessica's mouth opened slightly, but no sound emerged. Rebecca's phone slipped in her grasp before she recovered and continued recording, though her expression had shifted from gleeful anticipation to stunned disbelief. "The position starts in 2 weeks," I continued, enjoying the weight of their attention for reasons completely different from what they'd planned. It's about 2 hours from here. A fresh start with people who value hospitality experience and customer service skills. Each detail was a small victory over their months of criticism and dismissal. The cafe erupted as my words sank in. Carlos's voice boomed across the dining area. "Amanda, that's incredible news!" Maria's face appeared behind the espresso machine, her smile broad with genuine pride. "You deserve this," she called out, her accent thick with emotion. Jake dropped his cleaning towel and started clapping, his enthusiasm infectious as other staff members joined in. The sound of applause filled Café Luna as my coworkers celebrated news that transformed their colleagues' humiliation into triumph. Regular customers who'd watched me work through difficult months stood up from their tables, adding their voices to the celebration. Mrs. Chen, who'd witnessed my declining mood over recent weeks, raised her coffee cup in a toast. "To Amanda and her bright future," she declared, prompting other customers to join her impromptu celebration. The cafe became a community rallying around someone they'd watched struggle, their genuine joy drowning out the family who'd tried to destroy me. Jessica's face cycled through emotions I'd never seen before. Confusion gave way to disbelief, then something that looked disturbingly like fear. She'd expected to deliver a devastating blow to a vulnerable woman, not hand freedom to someone who'd already secured her independence. "You knew about this job when you signed those papers?" Michael asked, his voice strained with the realization that I'd outmaneuvered them completely. His phone hung, forgotten in his lap, as he processed that his girlfriend had just accepted eviction, while holding a career opportunity that exceeded every criticism his family had leveled against me. "I received the offer 4 days ago," I confirmed, watching his face pale as the timeline clicked into place. "The same day you all started acting mysteriously excited about my birthday celebration." Rebecca's recording captured Michael's growing understanding that their surprise had backfired spectacularly. The irony was perfect and devastating. Jessica had handed me eviction papers expecting to break me, but she'd actually freed me to pursue the professional respect she'd always claimed I couldn't achieve. "The training program includes management development," I added, pulling the official letterhead from my purse to show them. They specifically recruited me because of my cafe background. Apparently, my experience here at Café Luna demonstrates exactly the skills they value for advancement in hospitality management. Carlos appeared beside our table, his face glowing with pride as he looked at the job offer. "Amanda is one of our finest team members," he told Jessica directly. "Smart, dedicated, and respected by everyone here. This resort is lucky to have her." His words carried the weight of 4 years watching me work with integrity and skill. Jessica's silence was deafening. The woman who'd spent 3 years lecturing me about professional inadequacy now sat speechless, as my coworkers celebrated an achievement that invalidated every criticism she'd made. Rebecca lowered her phone slowly, finally understanding that their perfectly planned ambush had become my moment of vindication. The video they'd intended to share as entertainment would now document their own failure to recognize worth that others had discovered and valued. Michael stared at the job offer letter like it was written in a foreign language. 3 years of supporting his sister's criticism had just cost him a girlfriend who was walking away with professional success, financial independence, and the moral high ground he'd helped them steal from me. The silence that followed my job announcement stretched across Café Luna's dining area like a held breath. I stood beside our corner table, eviction papers in one hand and my future in the other, watching Jessica's face cycle through emotions she'd never shown before. "You planned this," Jessica finally whispered, her voice barely audible above the cafe's ambient noise. "You knew about the eviction papers." Her accusation carried no conviction because she was beginning to understand that my calm reaction wasn't planned. It was genuine relief disguised as composure. "I planned nothing," I replied, my voice steady and clear enough for nearby tables to hear. "You handed me freedom I didn't even know I wanted. 4 days ago, while you were preparing those papers, I received validation that everything you've said about my limitations was wrong." $52,000, I repeated. letting the number sink into their consciousness, plus benefits, housing, and career advancement opportunities. The management training program starts with my employment. Each detail was a small explosion in their narrative about my professional inadequacy. Maria emerged from behind the espresso machine, flour still dusting her apron from preparing evening pastries. "You're going to be amazing," she called out, her accent thick with emotion. "Show them what Cafe Luna people can do when given real chances." Her pride felt maternal and protective, the opposite of Jessica's toxic influence. Regular customers began approaching our table, drawn by the celebration and curious about the dramatic shift in atmosphere. Mr. Rodriguez, who always requested my section on Sunday mornings, squeezed my shoulder gently. "Good for you, Amanda. You always seemed too talented for—" He paused, glancing at Jessica, gay, staying in one place forever. The contrast between my supporters and Michael's family became stark and undeniable. Cafe Luna's staff and customers surrounded me with genuine affection and pride, celebrating someone they'd watched struggle with dignity and persistence. "When do you start?" Carlos asked, his question drawing more staff members into our growing circle of celebration. The entire evening crew had abandoned their prep work to witness this unexpected turn of events. 2 weeks, I answered, watching Jessica's face pale further at the timeline. She was beginning to understand that I'd been planning my escape while she was planning my destruction. Michael finally found his voice, though it came out strained and uncertain. "You're really leaving? Just like that?" His question revealed how little he understood about the damage his family had inflicted, or how thoroughly they destroyed my desire to remain in their world. "I'm really free," I corrected, emphasizing the word that captured what this moment truly meant. Free to work where I'm valued, live where I'm respected, and build relationships with people who celebrate my success instead of planning my failure. My words were measured and calm, but they cut through the cafe's noise with surgical precision. Jessica attempted to regain control of the situation, her voice rising slightly. "This is all very sudden, dear. Perhaps you should think carefully before making such drastic decisions." The endearment sounded hollow and desperate, coming from someone who just handed me eviction papers as a birthday gift. "I've been thinking for 3 years," I replied, meeting her gaze directly. Every criticism, every comparison to Michael's ex-girlfriend, every suggestion that I wasn't good enough for this family, all of it led me to this moment. You were right about one thing, Jessica. I do deserve better. The cafe's applause grew louder as my words reached tables throughout the dining area. Other customers had pieced together enough of the situation to understand that they were witnessing someone's liberation from family cruelty. "The beautiful thing about timing," I continued, my voice growing stronger with each word, "is that your gift of eviction papers arrived exactly when I was ready to accept freedom. I don't have to choose between this relationship and my self-respect anymore. You've made that decision beautifully simple." Rebecca's recording captured her own family's growing discomfort as they realized their roles had reversed completely. They'd come to Cafe Luna as executioners, but found themselves defendants in a trial of public opinion. Jessica's purse sat open beside her, the decorative gift bag that had delivered eviction papers, looking ridiculous and childish among the legal documents. Her weapon of choice had become evidence of her own cruelty, preserved forever in video recordings that would tell a very different story than she'd intended. The weight of 3 years worth of criticism and conditional acceptance lifted from my shoulders as I prepared to leave Cafe Luna for the final time as their victim. Every snide comment, every comparison to other women, every suggestion that I wasn't worthy of their family, all of it evaporated in the face of professional validation and genuine community support. Michael's attempt to process what had just happened played out across his features like slow-motion revelation. His sister's birthday gift had just cost him a girlfriend who was walking away with dignity, success, and freedom he'd helped them take from me. I walked out of Cafe Luna that night, carrying nothing but my purse and my dignity, leaving behind a family that had just revealed their true nature to an entire room of witnesses. The cool evening air felt cleaner than it had in months, and each step toward my car marked another moment of distance from people who'd never deserved my efforts to earn their approval. 2 weeks later, I stood in the marble lobby of Grandview Resort, wearing a professional uniform that actually felt like armor instead of costume. The nameplate on my chest read, Amanda Rodriguez, Guest Experience Coordinator, in elegant script that made me smile every time I caught my reflection in the lobby's mirrors. The employee residential village became my sanctuary in ways I'd never imagined possible. My furnished apartment was small but beautifully designed, with large windows overlooking the mountain landscape and a balcony where I could drink morning coffee in peaceful silence. Rachel Martinez became more than my supervisor. She became a mentor who saw leadership potential that Jessica had spent 3 years trying to convince me didn't exist. During my first month, Rachel assigned me to handle VIP guest relations, trusting my Cafe Luna experience to manage demanding clients with grace and professionalism. Your hospitality background gives you instincts other coordinators have to learn through training, Rachel explained during my 30-day review. You read people naturally, anticipate needs before they're expressed, and handle pressure without losing your composure. Those skills are exactly what luxury resort service requires. The management training program opened doors I'd never imagined walking through. Corporate communication seminars taught me business language that made my community college courses feel like elementary preparation. Leadership workshops revealed strengths I'd possessed all along, but had been taught to doubt under Jessica's constant criticism. My first promotion to assistant guest experience manager came 6 months after starting, accompanied by a salary increase that pushed my annual income above $58,000. The raise meant I could afford luxuries I'd only dreamed about during my struggling years. Quality clothes, regular spa appointments, and savings accounts that actually grew instead of shrinking under financial pressure. Word of my success began filtering back through mutual acquaintances in ways that felt like cosmic justice. Patricia, Jessica's country club friend, happened to stay at Grandview Resort during a business retreat. She recognized my name on the staff directory and specifically requested my assistance with her corporate group arrangements. "You're Michael's ex-girlfriend, aren't you?" Patricia asked during our consultation meeting. "Jessica mentioned you worked in hospitality, but she never said you were management at such a prestigious resort." Her surprise was genuine and telling. Jessica had obviously downplayed my achievements to maintain her narrative about my inadequacy. Michael's attempts to reconnect began arriving through social media messages I never answered. His texts grew increasingly desperate as he realized what he'd lost. But Jessica's lessons about recognizing value only after destruction had taught me not to trust people who celebrated my perceived failures. The divorce settlement proceedings worked entirely in my favor, thanks to their own documentation. Michael's video recording of the birthday ambush became evidence of planned emotional cruelty that his attorney couldn't explain away. No judge would award shared assets to someone who'd orchestrated public humiliation for entertainment purposes. Jessica's legal strategy backfired as completely as her birthday surprise. The decorated gift bag she'd prepared so carefully became Exhibit A in proceedings that painted her as the architect of family dysfunction. 8 months after that night at Cafe Luna, I was promoted again to guest experience manager, supervising a team of 15 coordinators across 4 departments. The position came with a company car, expense account, and salary approaching $65,000 annually. The resort's annual employee recognition ceremony became my moment of ultimate vindication. Standing on stage accepting an award for exceptional guest satisfaction scores, I thought about Jessica's phone conversation, where she hoped Michael would come to his senses about our relationship. Her prayers had been answered in ways she never intended. The greatest satisfaction came from living well without needing their approval or acknowledgement. My happiness was complete and self-contained, built on genuine achievements and authentic relationships, rather than desperate attempts to earn acceptance from people incapable of recognizing worth. Jessica's judgment had become irrelevant to my life satisfaction. My colleagues respected my opinions, valued my contributions, and trusted my leadership abilities. The professional environment Jessica claimed I could never access had welcomed me warmly and rewarded my efforts with advancement opportunities. Standing in my corner office, 18 months after that night at Cafe Luna, I looked out at the mountain landscape and felt grateful for every criticism that had pushed me toward independence. Jessica's decorated gift bag had contained the greatest gift possible: liberation from people who'd never deserved the effort I'd spent trying to earn their love. The ultimate revenge wasn't causing them pain. It was proving their cruelty had been based on jealousy and insecurity, rather than accurate evaluation of my character or capabilities. Jessica's need to diminish me had revealed more about her limitations than mine. If this story of ultimate vindication had you cheering out loud, smash that like button right now. My favorite part was when she calmly signed those eviction papers and pulled out her job offer letter. What was your favorite moment? Drop it in the comments below. Don't miss more incredible revenge stories like this. Subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload.